Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about why doesn't marriage counseling work? Now, the fact is it doesn't. Nearly all of my clients, where do they come from? They come from marriage counseling. Most people who go to a divorce lawyer, and I've spoken to a number of them and researched this as well, what was the most recent effort that the couple made to save their marriage? Marriage counseling. So today we're going to talk about why doesn't it work? It seems to be like the first place to go and the last place to go, and it's still not working. On a most basic level, the reason why it doesn't work is because there's a fundamental flaw in marriage counseling. It's based on this idea that it takes two people to save a marriage. And you've seen, you had some people on this post, on this group that said the same thing. And I thoroughly reject it because not only it's not true, actually going to counseling and requiring the husband and the wife to participate in healing the marriage makes the healing process so much more difficult and just really jeopardizes the future of the relationship. And the reason for that is, on a simple level, is because if you require two people to participate in a marriage and they go, in other words, to heal a marriage, and they go to counseling, what are they going to be dealing with? They end up dealing with garbage. They sit in front of a counselor, they sit in front of a therapist, and they just speak about what the other one did wrong. What she said, what she did, she made me feel guilty. Well, he disrespected me. He never cleans up. He never asked me out on a date. He never told me he loved me for 2 months, whatever it is. And he's saying, well, I tell you all the time I love you. Yeah, but you don't really mean it. It's just constantly dealing with the garbage, constantly dealing with criticism. And when you walk out of a counseling session with your wife, and I've been through this, so I've learned this on my skin. This is not a theory. You look at each other and you're like, you said what? Like, what did you say? How could you say that? And it doesn't bring any positive feelings. And it's all done in the name of saving the marriage. But in the process of trying to save the marriage, it's just causing a tremendous amount of pain and it's bloody. And that's why there's an 80% failure rate for marriage counseling. Now, together with this comes another problem, the fact that marriage therapists deal with symptoms. It's almost always the case, they deal with symptoms. So you have a problem of let's say you don't like the communication issue, right? You say, oh, me and my wife are struggling with communication. So they'll analyze the communication. Okay, what are you saying? What is she saying? How are you listening to her? Are you validating her? Are you making eye contact? How many times do you give her a compliment? Did you tell her you love her? How many times are you having sex? And they analyze all the details and they constantly deal with symptoms, constantly dealing with the result of the problem, not the problem itself. And I'll get to that in a minute. So she'll say, oh, he doesn't respect me. And of course he says, of course I respect her. She doesn't respect me. Every person has their own definition of what respect is. And that's what makes it so pathetic that there's a never-ending amount of areas to deal with. Oh, he argues with me in front of the kids, or he told the kids this about me, or she said this, in front of the kids. And so you're never gonna finish dealing with issues. It's gonna be respect, it's gonna be communication, it's going to be sex, it's going to be money, it's going to be in-laws. You're forever dealing with symptoms. And the truth is, it's all a waste of time. Because once you truly identify what matters most to a person, and there's only like 3 or 4 issues that matter most, and you focus on it like a laser, all the other issues go away. They just don't exist. They just go away. So let me elaborate a little more on marriage counseling. The only way it will work, the only times I've seen it work, and I've been doing this for 11 years, the only times I've seen marriage counseling work is if you go, of course, it has to be with your wife. You have to go once a week by yourself so you can speak openly with the therapist. Once a week, she should go by herself. And then once a week, a joint session. And it's a minimum of a year, and sometimes it easily takes 2 to 3 years. And if you have a decent marriage counselor, that's costing you about 25, 30K a year, unless you have fantastic insurance. And it could easily be, like I said, 2 to 3 years. So go run the numbers yourself. And even then, you don't avoid the problems of it being bloody, of walking out feeling judged and feeling criticized and feeling misunderstood and not appreciated and not respected. And what that does to the relationship is it just undermines it. To put it very, very simply, you can't heal a marriage differently than the way the marriage started. In other words, when you started falling in love with her, it wasn't because you were focusing on the symptoms. It wasn't because you were focusing on communication, on respect. It was because there was a core connection, there was a core passion, there was a real sense of being loved and cared for, and really having someone being the center of your world and you being the center of somebody else's world. That's what made the connection. And automatically, once that was there, communication flowed and respect flowed and the sex was great, and you didn't fight over things so much. And therefore, you can't heal a marriage any other way than focusing on the core connection. So how do I work it with clients? It's very simple. You might have seen my article about it, Aim Before You Fire. And if not, you can check it out, or I'll explain it briefly over here. Every couple, every person has 3 to 4 areas that matter most to them, that makes them tick. And if you know how to fulfill these on a high level, this person will become crazy over you. Period. End of story. It doesn't matter if you're separated. It doesn't matter if you guys are fighting the entire time. Once you make that little switch, and it's not about doing so many things. It's about aiming. It's literally about aiming before you fire. And when you start doing this to a relationship and you can identify these areas, you actually could put in less work and get a better return because you're focusing on what matters most to her. And also, while we do it, you also focus on the 3-4 areas that matter most to you. So then you can tell her, hey, this is how I feel respected. These are my needs. This is how I feel satisfied. And once you do that, the entire marriage, it becomes unrecognizable because you don't have to deal with all the symptoms. They all fall into place. I've seen this over and over and over again with so many clients. And I've also seen it with people who've done it accidentally. They've just come across it, even those who are not my clients, and they just discover those areas. And when you discover that area, it's not like a question like, is this where I should focus or not? It's truly like an aha moment, like, oh my God, this is it. And then you can let go of trying to clean the house so much and trying to please her and trying to tell her 20 times I love you and how much I care for you and how much I'm committed. And you can stop also judging her about her not being committed to you, because once you identify where those areas are, she will become committed to you. She will come running back to you. She will give you the appreciation and the thank you and say, oh my God, you finally got it. All the work you're trying to firing in all directions, trying to please me, trying to catch my attention, trying to tell me how much you care about me, trying to listen, all that doesn't matter the moment you actually figure out what matters most to her. So if you're in a very bitter marriage or you're separated, go ahead and book a call with me and let's see if I can do for you what I've done for my other clients. Now, I don't have a lot of spots available, so only do this if you're really serious and you buy into this concept that one person can fix a marriage, and you understand and appreciate how it's easier than having 2 people do it. Another point I forgot to say is that when you have 2 people trying to fix a marriage, automatically you start keeping track. Oh, I did this, but she only did this. I did this and she didn't recognize it, or she didn't appreciate it, right? Like she didn't reciprocate. And that expectation and that resentment and that judgment just blows up the marriage. That's a death blow to marriage. Anyway, so if you appreciate what I'm saying and you can understand, and you can you don't have to agree 100%, but if you can see on some level that this might be the solution for you, book a call with me, but only if you're serious. There's a bunch of you, there's only one of me. So you'll see on my calendar, I only have a few spots. Take it only if you're serious and if your finances are settled. If your entire life is a mess and you don't have a job, you're not employed, and then it's not just your marriage that's a mess, it's also your life. So I'm sorry, but I can't help you right now. You first got to get your life in order. But if it's just your marriage that's a problem and your life relatively seems to, well, it's sort of a hard thing to say because when your marriage is difficult, it does affect the rest of your life. But you know what I mean? If you're financially stable and you are ready to try something different, we can have a free call. Like I said, it's free, but only if you're really serious about exploring what's really going on in your marriage, what you really want from the marriage, and what it's going to take to get you from the problem that you're in to the solution that you want. So the link is posted over here, and for those who need it, I'll be happy to speak with you. Take care.